Shalom, shalom. We're back for Acts 20:20. No more singing, but we might do raps for money. Speaking of which, if you'd like to tithe to a relationship with the Creator, there's a link in the description. Yeah, take you right to a website. You can tithe per denomination, whatever amount that pleases you, that the Spirit has moved you to give, and that helps us continue to do this, continue to fund outreach and ministries, and we humbly thank you in Yeshua's name. All right, we pray in Yeshua's name. Father, let the works of your mighty hands show forth, and push this Bible study forward. Let the works of your hands shine. Let the works that you do shine. Let us follow the footsteps of Yeshua HaMashiach. Let the Spirit fill us up, that we not only hear your word, but become doers also of your word. We speak your word, we act on your word, we look to your word. Father, let us know your word. Father, we love you, we praise you. We give you all the glory and victory. In the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen. Okay. Acts 20 is where we're at. After the uproar had ceased, Shaul called the taught ones to him, and having embraced them, went away to Macedonia. And having gone through those parts, having encouraged them with many words, he came to Greece, where he spent 3 months. When he was about to sail to Syria, he decided to return through Macedonia, as a plot was made against him by the Yehudim. And he was accompanied by Sopater of Beroia, and Aristarchus, and Secundus of the Thessalonians, and Gaius of Derbe, and Timotheus, and Tychicus, and Trophimus of Asia. And these, going ahead, waited for us at Troas. And we sailed away from Philippi after the days of unleavened bread, and came to them at Troas in 5 days, where we stayed 7 days. And on day 1 of the week, the taught ones having gathered together to break bread, Shaul, intending to depart the next day, was reasoning with them, and was extending the word till midnight. And there were many lamps in the upper room where they were assembled, and a certain young man by name Eutychus was sitting in a window, being overpowered by a deep sleep. As Shaul kept on reasoning, he was overcome by sleep, and fell down from the 3rd story, and was picked up dead. And Shaul, having gone down, fell on him, and embracing him, said, "Do not be upset, for his life is in him." Then going up again, and having broken bread and eaten, he talked a long while, even till daybreak, and so went forth. And they brought the young man in alive, and were encouraged not a little. And we, going ahead to the ship, sailed to Assos, intending to take Shaul on board there, for so he had arranged, intending himself to go on foot. And when he met us at Assos, we took him on board and came to Mytilene, and from there we sailed, and the next day came opposite Chios, and the next day we arrived at Samos, and remained at Trogullian, and the following day we came to Miletus. For Shaul had decided to sail past Ephesus, so that he might lose no time in Asia, for he was hurrying to be at Jerusalem, if possible, on the day of the festival of Shabbat. And from Miletus he sent to Ephesus, and called for the elders of the assembly. And when they had come to him, he said to them, "You know from the first day that I came to Asia how I was with you all the time, serving the Master with all humility, with many tears and trials which befell me, by the plotting of the Yehudim, as I kept back no matter that was profitable, but proclaimed it to you, and taught you publicly, and from house to house, witnessing to Yehudim and also to Greeks, repentance toward Elohim and belief in our Master Yeshua Messiah. And now, see, I go bound in the Spirit to Jerusalem, not knowing what is going to meet me there, except that the set-apart Spirit witnesses in every city, saying that chains and pressures await me. But I do not count my life of any value to me, so that I might accomplish my mission with joy, and the service which I received from the Master Yeshua to bear witness to the good news of the favor of Elohim. And now, see, I know that you all, among whom I went about proclaiming the reign of Elohim, shall see my face no more. Therefore I witness to you this day that I am clear from the blood of all, for I kept not back from declaring to you all the counsel of Elohim. Therefore take heed to yourselves, and to all the flock, among which the set-apart Spirit has made you overseers, to shepherd the assembly of Elohim which he has purchased with his own blood. For I know this, that after my departure savage wolves shall come in among you, not sparing the flock. Also from among yourselves men shall rise, speaking distorted teachings, to draw away the taught ones after themselves. Therefore watch, remembering that for 3 years, night and day, I did not cease to warn each one with tears. And now, brothers, I commit you to Elohim, and to the word of his favor, which is able to build you up and give you an inheritance among all those having been set apart. I have coveted no one's silver or gold or garments, and you yourselves know that these hands supplied my needs, and for those who were with me. All this I did show you by laboring like this, that you ought to help the weak, and remember the words of the Master Yeshua, that he said, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." And having said this, he knelt down and prayed with them all. And there was much weeping among them all, and falling on Shaul's neck they kissed him, distressed most of all because of the word which he had said, that they would see his face no more. And they went with him to the ship. So they see him off. There's a note in this Bible on verse 7. And there's not one in this Bible. It says Sabbath. And on day 1 of the week, GK Sabbaths. I don't know what GK means in this Bible. Greek for Sabbath. The Greek word is Sabbath. So, as I'm reading this, I mean, we've done Acts together. Acts 2:46, and day by day, continuing with one mind in the set-apart place, and breaking bread from house to house, they ate their food with gladness and simplicity of heart, praising Elohim and having favor with all the people. And the Master added to the assembly those who were being saved day by day. Day by day, breaking bread from house to house. And the Master added to the assembly those who were being saved, day by day. And so when people say, well, they were together on day 1 of the week, well, they were together day by day. However, if we're going to use that as a rebuke to keeping the Torah, then why is Shaul still trying to make it to Jerusalem, if possible, on the day of the festival of Shabbat? After the uproar had ceased, so in 19 there was a riot going on. the men of Ephesus were basically claiming that Shaul was trying to overthrow Artemis, which Shaul could probably do himself. He doesn't need God. I mean, he could do it with the authority of God, but he's doing it like he doesn't need an Eliyahu call down the fire from God. He doesn't need Yeshua to show up. He doesn't need any backup. He doesn't need Peter. He doesn't need Timotheus or Silas or Yohanan. He could probably walk in and cleanse Artemis right up out of there. They started a riot. After the uproar had ceased, Shaul called the taught ones to him, and having embraced them, went away to Macedonia. Hey guys, I'm leaving. Going back to Asia. Nope, deep into Greece is Macedonia. I'll get it one day. Having gone through those parts, and having encouraged them with many words, he came to Greece. So deeper in Europe than Greece, but not Greece. I don't know. There's not even borders on this map. Where he spent 3 months. When he was about to sail to Syria, he decided to return through Macedonia, as a plot was made against him by the Yehudim. They're still trying to kill him. They still don't get it. They're still like, Shaul, Shaul, my friend, I kiss you and deliver you up. He was about to sail to Syria, which is way through. This is quite an interesting map. Quite an interesting map. And he was accompanied by Sopater of Beroea and Aristarchus and Secundos of the Thessalonians, and Gaius of Derbe, and Timotheus, and Tuchikos, and Trophimus of Asia. So, other than the pronunciation of these words, what have we learned so far? Well, the Yehudi are still trying to kill him. He is told ahead of time that the Yehudi are trying to kill him. So whether this is the spirit, it doesn't seem like the spirit because they identified it as the spirit, but it's probably a conversational, you know? They're like, hey, Paul, we love you. We got some Jews over here that are trying to kill you. Send the word. And these going ahead waited for us at Trous. So whoever Luke's with, which apparently is implied before the courts, I'm not even going to look into yet. Maybe we'll have an answer to that, us. Trous, also in Asia, comma, maybe? No, negative. Up past the sea by Greece. Away from Italy way. And we sailed from Philippi after the days of unleavened bread, and came to them at Trous in 5 days, where we stayed 7 days. So clearly, Philippi is 5 days from Trous. And they're like, let's get an Airbnb. Let's hang out. There's beautiful women here. We're going to just stay for a little bit. Greeks, palm trees, baklava. Stay for 7 days. And on day 1 of the week, so they got there, and we sailed away from Philippi after the days of unleavened bread. Now, when do the days of unleavened bread begin? Well, let's see. In the first new moon, on the 14th day of the new moon between the evenings is the Pesach to Yahuwah. And on the 15th day of this new moon is the festival of Matzah to Yahuwah. 7 days you eat unleavened bread. Now, we do know. And you shall bring an offering made by fire to Yahuwah for 7 days. On the 7th day is a set-apart gathering. You do no servile work. Pesach is the first day of the days of unleavened bread. Because then there's like, in 16 it says, you shall slaughter the Pesach to Yahuwah. That was Leviticus 23. This is Deuteronomy 16. Guard the new moon of Abib and perform the Pesach to Yahuwah your Elohim. For in the new moon of Abib, Yahuwah your Elohim brought you out of Mitzrayim by night. And you shall slaughter the Pesach to Yahuwah your Elohim from the flock and the herd in the place where Yahuwah chooses to put his name. Eat no leaven with it. For 7 days you eat with it unleavened bread of affliction, because you came out of the land of Mitzrayim in haste, so that you remember the day in which you came out of the land of Mitzrayim all the days of your life. And no sourdough should be seen with you in all your borders for 7 days. Neither should any of the meat which you slaughter in the evening on the first day stay all night until morning. You are not allowed to slaughter the Pesach within any of your gates which Yahuwah your Elohim gives you, but at the place where Yahuwah your Elohim chooses to make his name dwell. There you slaughter the Pesach in the evening at the going down of the suns at the appointed time you came out of Mitzrayim. And you shall roast and eat it in the place which Yahuwah your Elohim chooses, and in the morning you shall turn and go to your tents. 6 days you eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day there is a closing festival to Yahuwah your Elohim. You do no work. Count 7 weeks for yourself. And we'll actually reference that shortly. Now, fortunately, we've got not only one more witness, but one more that we'll use. Exodus 12:14. And this day shall become to you a remembrance, and you shall celebrate it as a festival to Yahuwah throughout your generations. Celebrate it as a festival, an everlasting law. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. Indeed, on the first day you cause sourdough to cease from your homes. For whoever eats leaven from the first day until the 7th, that being shall be cut off from all Yisrael. Okay. So, we don't yet have the festival of unleavened bread here, but it says 7 days from the Passover, being the first day. For whoever eats leaven from the first day until the 7th day, that being shall be cut off from Israel. And on the first day is a set-apart gathering, and on the 7th day you have a set-apart gathering. No work at all is done on them, only that which is eaten by every being, that alone is prepared by you. And you shall guard the festival of Matzah, for on the same day I brought your divisions out of the land of Mitzrayim, and you shall guard this day throughout your generations, an everlasting law. In the first month, on the 14th day of the new moon, in the evening, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the new moon in the evening. For 7 days no sourdough is to be found in your houses, for if anyone eats what is leavened, that same being shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether sojourner or native in the land. Do not eat that which is leavened. In all your dwelling you are to eat unleavened bread. Simple enough, right? Pesach to the end of unleavened bread. Now, let's vet these guys live here on camera. Are they keeping the Passover correctly and the days of unleavened bread? And we sailed from Philippi after the days of unleavened bread, and came to them at Troas in 5 days, where we stayed 7 days. So I would say that, yeah, they definitely were keeping the days of unleavened bread properly based on this information. And on day 1 of the week, the taught ones, having gathered together to break bread, Shaul, intending to depart the next day, was reasoning with them and was extending the word till midnight. Now, here's where we could do the math. 7 days from before that. So if we look, we don't know how many years it is to this, honestly. How long I suppose that this is after the year of Yeshua's death, but if we could narrow this down by date, we could back math what day the Passover would have actually been on in the year that Yeshua died. And we know that it's got to be before, I think, 70 AD, because I don't think the temple has been brought down yet. Maybe it has. And then we'd be like, see, Good Friday, Easter, bullshit. Okay. Now, and there were many lamps in the upper room where they were assembled, and a certain young man by name Eutychus was sitting in a window, being overpowered by a deep sleep. As Shaul kept on reasoning, he was overcome by sleep and fell down from the 3rd story and was picked up dead. So, this guy falls into a deep sleep, basically falls out a window. Was sitting in a window, being overpowered by a deep sleep. I don't know how they were making windows in Greece. Maybe they didn't have glass yet. But this man's is sitting at a window, which you don't really do on windows. I know there's some windows that you do, and I also don't know what, no, they had to have windows, right? Like glass windows, I don't know, but Yah knows, Yah knew. And here's why Yah knew. As Shaul kept on reasoning, he was overcome by sleep. It's going to look at Acts 19:15. And the wicked spirit answering said, Yeshua I know, and Shaul I know, but who are you? And the man in whom the wicked spirit was leaped on them, overpowered them, and prevailed against them. So again, overcome, overpowered. Now that I'm reading this in Acts 19, it's actually the man with the Spirit, not just the Spirit. In Acts 19. So if you watch the Acts 19 video before this, correction. But still, we referenced in Matthew where, Matthew 8, where, oh, Oh, Mark 5 it was. That's where we did it. We referenced Mark 5 where the demon had broken the chains. Excuse me. Okay. Pretty much this guy falls down a window from the 3rd story. He's picked up dead. They're like, he's dead. Look at this. There's blood everywhere. We've got guts. We've got brains. We've got... This guy doesn't even... We can't even pick this guy up in one piece. Shattered. Splattered. If there was glass, that shit was shattered too, but maybe there was, maybe there wasn't. Who knows what these fucking Greeks did, because they're out here worshiping Artemis. And Shaul, having gone down, fell on him, and embracing him said, "Do not be upset, for his life is in him." So, Shaul, having gone down, fell on him, and embracing him. There is a... You got ready for this? And a certain woman, 2 Kings chapter 4. If you want to flip there. And a certain woman of the wives of the sons of the prophets cried out to Elisha, saying, "Your servant my husband is dead, and you know that your servant feared Yahuwah, and the lender has come to take my 2 sons to be his slaves." And Elisha said to her, "What should I do for you? Inform me, what do you have in the house?" And she said, "Your female servant has none at all in the house except a pot of oil." And he said, "Go, borrow vessels from everywhere, from all your neighbors, empty vessels, do not get a few. And when you have come in, you shall shut the door behind you and your sons, then pour it into all those vessels, and set aside the filled ones." So she went from him and shut the door beside her and her sons, who brought the vessels to her, and she poured it out. And it came to be, when the vessels were filled, that she said to her son, "Bring me another vessel." But he said to her, "There is not another vessel," and the oil ceased. So she went and informed the man of Elohim, and he said, "Go sell the oil and pay your debt, and you and your sons live on the rest." And it came to be, on a day that Elisha went to Shunem, where there was a prominent woman, and she took hold of him to eat some food, and it came to be, as often as he passed by, that he turned in there to eat some food. And she said to her husband, "Look, I know that this is a set-apart man of Elohim who passes by us continually. Please, let us make a small upper room on the wall, and let us put a bed for him there, and a table and a chair and a lampstand, and it shall be, whenever he comes to us, let him turn in there." And it came to be on a day that he came there, and he turned into the upper room and lay down there. And he said to Gehazi his servant, "Call this Shunammite woman." So he called her, and she stood before him. And he said to him, "Please say to her, 'Look, you have gone to all this trouble for us. What is there to be done for you? Should I speak on your behalf to the sovereign, or to the commander of the army?" And she said, "I am dwelling among my own people." And he said, "What then is to be done for her?" And Gehazi answered, "Well, she has no son, and her husband is old." And he said, "Call her." So he called her, and she stood in the doorway.
And he said, about this appointed time next year you shall embrace a son. And she said, no, my master, man of Elohim, do not lie to your female servant. And the woman conceived and bore a son when the appointed time had come of which Elisha had spoken to her. And the child grew. And it came to be on a day that he went out to his father to the reapers. And he said to his father, my head, my head. And he said to his servant, take him to his mother. So he took him and brought him to his mother, and he sat on her knees till noon and died. And she went out and laid him on the bed of the man of Elohim and shut the door on him. And went out. And she called to her husband and said, please send me one of the young men and one of the donkeys, so that I hurry to the man of Elohim and return. And he said, why are you going to him today? It is neither the new moon nor the Sabbath. And she said, it is well. And she saddled the donkey and said to her servant, drive and go. Do not slow down, except I speak to you. And she went and came to the man of Elohim at Mount Carmel. And it came to be, when the man of Elohim saw her at a distance, that he said to his servant Gehazi, see the Shunammite woman. Please run now to meet her, and say to her, is it well with you? Is it well with your husband? Is it well with the child? And she answered, it is well. And she came to the man of Elohim at the hill, and she took hold of him by the feet. But Gehazi came near to push her away. But the man of Elohim said, leave her alone, for being his bitter in her, and Yahweh has hidden it from me, and has not revealed it to me. And she said, did I ask a son of my master? Did I say, do not deceive me? And he said to Gehazi, gird up your loins, and take my staff in your hand, and go. When you meet anyone, do not greet him. And when anyone greets you, do not answer him. And you shall lay my staff on the face of the child. And the mother of the child says, as Yahweh lives, and as your being lives, I do not leave you. And he rose and followed her. And Gehazi went on ahead of them, and laid the staff on the face of the child. But there was no voice, and there was no hearing. So he went back to meet him, and reported to him, saying, the child has not awakened. And Elisha came into the house, and saw the child was dead, lying on the bed. And he went in, and shut the door behind the two of them, and prayed to Yahweh. And he went up and lay on the child, and put his mouth on his mouth, and his eyes on his eyes, and his hands on his hands, and stretched himself out on the child, and the flesh of the child became warm. And he returned, and walked back and forth in the house, then went up and stretched himself out on him, and the child sneezed 7 times, and the child opened his eyes. And he called Gehazi, and said, call this Shunammite. So he called her, and she came in to him, and he said, pick up your son. Pick up your son. And she went in and fell at his feet, and bowed herself to the ground, and picked up her son, and went out. And Elisha returned to Gilgal, and the scarcity of food was in the land. And the son of the prophets were sitting before him, and he said to his servant, put on a large pot, and cook stew for the sons of the prophets. And one went out to the field to gather plants, and found a wild vine, and gathered wild cucumbers from it, filling the skirt of his garment, and came and sliced them into the pot of stew, though they did not know what they were. Then they served it to the man to eat, and it came to be, as they were eating the stew, that they cried out and said, O man of Elohim, there is death in the pot. And they were unable to eat it. And he said, then bring some flour. And he put it into the pot, and said, serve it to the people to eat. And there was no evil matter in the pot. Now a man came from Baal Shalishah, and brought the man of Elohim bread of the firstfruits, 20 loaves of barley bread and newly ripened grain in his knapsack. And he said, give it to the people to eat. And his servant said, what? Do I eat this before 100 men? And he said, give it to the people to eat. For thus said Yahweh, eat and have some left over. And he set it before them, and they ate and had some left over according to the word of Yahweh. Great signs and wonders. Yeshua now. in Matthew 9:18. While he was saying all this to them, see, a ruler came and bowed down to him, saying, "My daughter is dead by now, but come and lay your hand on her, and she shall live." And Yeshua rose and followed him, his taught ones too. And see, a woman who had a flow of blood for 12 years came from behind and touched the tzitzit of his garment. For she said to herself, "If I only touch his garment, I shall be healed." But Yeshua turned, and when he saw her, he said, "Take courage, daughter, your belief has healed you." And the woman was healed from that hour. And when Yeshua came into the ruler's house and saw the flute players and the crowd making a noise, he said to them, "Go back, for the girl is not dead, but sleeping." And they laughed at him. But when the crowd was put outside, he went in and took her by the hand, and the girl arose. And this report went out in all that land. And as Yeshua passed on from there, 2 blind men followed him, crying out and saying, "Son of David, have compassion on us." And when he came into the house, the blind men came to him. And Yeshua said to them, "Do you believe that I am able to do this?" They said to him, "Yes, Master." Then he touched their eyes, saying, "According to your belief, let it be to you." Okay. Elisha stretches himself out, puts his mouth on his mouth, his eyes on his eyes, his body to his body. And the body becomes warm. Yeshua grabs the hand of the dead girl. Shaul fell on him and embracing him said, "Do not be upset, for his life is in him." These are there's a guy named Socrates, and his channel's Good News with Socrates. Shout out to him. Shout him out. He's done 4 or 5 videos at this point. And the first one was with Angela Halili from Girls Gone Bible. The second one, he talks about maybe it's the third one he talks about love, and the second one he talks about how to raise people from the dead, or I have those vice versa. Might be the second one he talks about love, and the third one he talks about how to raise people from the dead. He's like, "I've done it 16 out of 100 times. And I believe this man. I can see that the Spirit is strong in him." Stuff still goes on today. There is no reason that we are not out there raising people from the dead, other than lack of belief. Shaul knows he can do it, and having gone down, fell on him, and embracing him, said, "Do not be upset, for his life is in him." Then going up again, and having broken bread and eaten, he talked for a while, even till daybreak, and so went forth. So Shaul has the belief, being able to communicate with the Spirit, that he can matter-of-factly take this dead man who's been splattered on the ground, spattered from a 3rd-story window. You seen all the concrete in Greece? They made everything out of concrete. They made concrete trees just to worship them. Okay, so there is no way this guy did not fall flat on his face in some good old Portland cement. Now, Shaul, having gone down, fell on him, and embracing him, said, "Do not be upset, for his life is in him." That's what he said. The guy doesn't wake up. The guy doesn't move. He's not alive. He's not breathing. presumably because he was picked up dead. So he's dead. And then Shaul says his life is in him. And then kept going on. And then going on again. And having broken bread and eaten, he talked a long while, even till daybreak. So he went forth. And so went forth. So this man just goes on about with his night, has some bread, probably there's a glass of wine there, probably got some I was going to say women, but we know Shaul was never married, so maybe that's why. And, you know, he's teaching people, and he's loving Elohim, and probably singing and praising and doing all works of wonder in Elohim's name. Other than that, probably there's card tricks going on. I don't know. Whatever else Shaul would do. I don't feel like I know Shaul very well, so I'm going to get to know him over his epistles. Like Peter, I feel like I know, did a lot of time in the Gospels. The epistles are wordy and active and intelligible, and should be read with care. So, they are letters between men from a very, very well educated man in the scriptures. So, like, take the pastor of all pastors in this and his ability to apply this book to life and walk in the way of Yeshua as HaMashiach. And Shaul's probably, I don't know, 100 times greater than he. Just saying. So, let's take a Wawa real quick as we go on.
That's a water for any of you foreigners out there. I know we've got a lot of Canadians that watch this channel, some Frenchmen, Germans. Ethiopians. Shout out the Book of Enoch. I was talking to a kid today who was Catholic and didn't know what I don't know how old this kid was, but he was definitely a kid. And he didn't know what the Apocrypha was. And he, like, all the books that he was quoting were like Apocrypha books. And I'm like, that's interesting that you're only reading the Apocrypha. But we taught him a little bit, and he seemed kind of familiar with the other books. He at least knew of them. And he was dedicated. He was at a Bible study as a Catholic and a kid. So, praise Yah. All right. Even till daybreak, and so went forth. And they brought the young man in alive, and were encouraged not a little. Again, we said that not a little, it really means a lot. I don't know why they talk like this, but Greeks, disciples, man, sometimes they're just too smart for their own good. So, all the people who witnessed this young man coming back to life, what's his name? Yatuchos comes back to life, and everybody who sees this is highly encouraged. They're like, no way did this guy just bring back a freaking half a body. He's still leaking blood. What's going on? We haven't even patched him up yet. How is this man standing? There's no blood in his body. We're gonna have to fill him back up. Somebody get a cup. Did you watch Psalm 16? And we, going ahead to the ship, sailed to Assos, intending to take Shaul on board there, for so he had arranged, intending himself to go on foot. So they're like, bro, you don't have to walk, we can sail you there. No. They went ahead in the ship. Shaul arranged for them to go ahead in the ship, and he was going to go on foot. Assos. So he's going to Assos from someplace. Trouse. I don't know. Probably like a week, 2 weeks to take him to walk. Probably 2 weeks to take him to walk. But he's got till the days of unleavened, or the days of the festival of Shabbat. Well, then he's going to Jerusalem. He doesn't care. He's following the Spirit. So who knows what he did on the way? Probably, healed a couple million more people and started another riot and got arrested. This man's lived an exciting life once he stopped killing Jews. And when he met us at Assos, we took him on board and came to Mytilene. And from there we sailed, and the next day came opposite Chios, and the next day we arrived at Samos, and remained at Trogulian. And the following day we came to Miletos, for Shaul had decided to sail past Ephesus, so that he might lose no time in Asia, for he was hurrying to be at Jerusalem if possible on the day of the festival of Shabbat. So he's like passing Ephesus, and he's like, don't stop at Ephesus. We are not going to Asia. If I go to Ephesus, they're going to want to hang out. I got some friends there. I just had a whole experience there. All my boys, we just rioted. We got caught in some theater, and there were guys, and yeah. So he sails past Ephesus. He's like, nah, fuck that. Fuck Ephesus. For now. He wants to be at Jerusalem on the day of the festival of Shabbat. What? She's going to Jerusalem on the day of the festival of Shabbat? Now, why would a follower of Messiah do that? That's absurd. Shaul. Clearly, Shaul has no idea what he's doing. Going to Jerusalem on the day of the festival of Shabbat. Mastermind. And from Miletos he sent to Ephesus and called for the elders of the assembly. So he's calling for the elders there. In Miletos. He's in Miletos. And he doesn't want to go to Ephesus, so he has Ephesus come to him, the important people. And then he's trying to get to Jerusalem. Let's see if he does. And when they had come to him, he said to them, you know, from the first day that I came to Asia, how I was with you all the time, serving the Master with all humility, with many tears and trials which befell me, by the plotting of the Yehudim, as I kept back no matter that was profitable, but proclaimed it to you, and taught you publicly from house to house, witnessing to Yehudim and also to Greeks, repentance toward Elohim and belief in our Master Yeshua Messiah. Lot going on there. He's giving witness of himself. You guys know me. I'm humile and I serve the Master. That's my goal. Many tears and trials which befell me. I've told you all the times that they tried to kill me and they tried to arrest me and they tried to riot against me. Ahem, Ephesus. As I kept back no matter that was profitable, but proclaimed it to you. I didn't hide anything from you. You know, that saying that, like, I taught you everything you know, but not everything I know. Shaul taught him everything he knew. Because that's what a man of Elohim does. Fairness and fullness, and does not hold back from his brother. You give all your best to Yahweh. Give it all to Yahweh.
and taught you publicly and from house to house. Publicly. I ain't afraid of nothing. Okay? I didn't do this in secret. This isn't like some underground thing. No, I came in the park and I started praising Yahweh and showing you how to do what and why, where, was, is. Witnessing to Yehudim and also to Greeks. And I wasn't afraid to go associate with one of another race. I will talk to the Greeks. I will talk to the Yehudi. I will talk to the Romans. I will talk to the Asians. Let's party, bro. Who needs to get the word? The good news, come hither. Here, good news, spread. Yeshua HaMashiach. And now, see, I go bound in the spirit to Jerusalem, not knowing what is going to meet me there, except that the set-apart spirit witnesses in every city, saying that chains and pressures await me. So, up here in verse 2, and having gone through those parts and having encouraged them with many words, he came to Greece, where he spent 3 months. When he was about to sail to Syria, he decided to return through Macedonia as a plot was made against him by the Yehudim. See, is Jerusalem on here? Jerusalem is on there. So, yeah, he's in Greece. Instead of going to Jerusalem, which is southeast, oh, we do have some years here. Instead of going to Jerusalem, which is southeast, he goes to Macedonia, which is north, and Jerusalem is southeast. So now he's got to go back to, because if he's in Syria, then it would have been easy for the Yehudi in Jerusalem to get him. At least from what I can denounce. But either way, the Jews in Jerusalem are not happy with Paul. And they're like, let me at him, let me at him. Chains and pressure await him. Chains and pressure await him. That's more Jewy. The nose is longer. It's not a nasally nose. So, but it's a deep throat. Kind of very birdy. But I do not count my life of any value to me, so that I might accomplish my mission with joy, and the service which I received from the Master Yeshua to bear witness to the good news of the favor of Elohim. Acts 5:41. They indeed went rejoicing from the presence of the council, because they were counted worthy to suffer shame for his name. And daily in the set-apart place and in every house they did not cease teaching and bringing the good news, Yeshua the Messiah. Oh, yeah. Acts 7:57. And crying out with a loud voice, they stopped their ears and rushed upon him with one mind, and threw him out of the city and stoned him. And the witnesses laid down their garments at the feet of a young man named Shaul. And they were stoning Stephanos as he was calling and saying, Master Yeshua, receive my spirit. And kneeling down, he cried out with a loud voice, Master, do not hold this sin against them. And having said this, he fell asleep. Okay. And we know in John 21 that John 21:18, truly, truly, I say to you, when you were younger and girded yourself and walked where you wished, when you were younger, you girded yourself and walked where you wished, But when you are old, you shall stretch out your hands, and another shall gird you and bring you where you do not wish. Now this he said, signifying by what death he would esteem Elohim. And having said this, he said to him, Follow me. Okay. Now Shaul's getting this witness. But I do not count my life of any value to me, so that I might accomplish my mission with joy, and the service which I received from the Master Yeshua, to bear witness to the good news of the favor of Elohim. Bro, it don't matter what happened to me. I got some, if I save one Jew there, if I save the Jew that's going to take this over, if I do the work of Elohim while I'm there, there is no me not going there, because that means defying the Spirit, and unless I be killed by Elohim himself, I will go to Yerushalayim. And now, see, I know that you all among whom I went about proclaiming the reign of Elohim shall see my face no more. Definitely never gonna see me again. Yup. Yeah. Also says this too. He embraced the taught ones in Macedonia. Then ended up going back to Macedonia. All right. He's sad. He's like, I loved you guys. Therefore, I witness to you this day that I am clear from the blood of all. I am clear from the blood of all. Oh, we don't need to talk about Festival of Shabbat, do we? We talked about it in the beginning of the book, Acts 2. It also says, see Leviticus 23. Festival of Shavuot, weeks or oaths, counted from the day on which the sheaf of the first fruits is waved during the festival of Matzah. 7 Sabbaths, then on the next day. So, yeah. That I am clear from the blood of all. So while I do believe that he's been forgiven, I also believe that he's kind of saying whatever happens, happens. You know? His conscience is clean. This is really, man. Somebody needs to just make the book of Acts and move it. He says this and he's like, And now see, I know that you all, among whom I went about proclaiming the reign of Elohim, shall see my face no more. Therefore I witness to you this day that I am clear from the blood of all. Don't worry, I know where I'm going. I am in good conscience. I have never felt cleaner in my life. For I kept not back from declaring to you all the counsel of Elohim. I gave you everything he gave me to give you. Everything you need to know you have. Therefore take heed to yourselves and to all the flock, among which the set-apart Spirit has made you overseers, to shepherd the assembly of Elohim, which he has purchased with his own blood. These are the officials at Ephesus, the leaders. Take heed to yourselves and to all the flock, among which the set-apart Spirit has made you overseers, to shepherd the assembly of Elohim, which he has purchased with his own blood. Yeah, I am clear from blood of all. His blood bought his blood. Messiah's blood bought Shaul's blood, the blood that was on his hands from all the murders that he did. You get a lot of deep spiritual context out of the book of Ephesians, and I'm excited to keep this in mind I'm excited to read Ephesians now, knowing that they got this grand goodbye. Probably, he said tears. And if we read this a little different, from the first day that I came to Asia, I was with you all the time, serving the Master with all humility, with many tears and trials which befell me by the plotting of the Yehudim, as I kept back no matter that was profitable, but proclaiming it to you and taught you publicly and from house to house, witnessing to Yehudim and also to Greeks, repentance towards Elohim and belief in our Master Yeshua. And now, see, I go bound in the Spirit to Jerusalem, not knowing what is going to meet me there, except that the set-apart Spirit witnesses in every city, saying that chains and pressures await me. Maybe he was excited and maybe he was sad. Maybe a little bit of both. But I do not count my life of any value to me, so that I might accomplish my mission with joy, and the service which I received from the Master Yeshua to bear witness to the good news of the favor of Elohim. And now, see, I know that you all, among whom I went about proclaiming the reign of Elohim, shall see my face no more. Therefore I witness to you this day that I am clear from the blood of all, for I kept not back from declaring to you all the counsel of Elohim. Therefore take heed to yourselves and to all the flock, among which the set-apart Spirit has made you overseers, to shepherd the assembly of Elohim, which he has purchased with his own blood. For I know this, that after my departure savage wolves shall come in among you, not sparing the flock. All right, full stop. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 references, one from each gospel. So let's party. Matthew 7:15 to 23. But beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are savage wolves. By their fruits you shall know them. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? So every good tree yields good fruit, but a rotten tree yields wicked fruit. A good tree is unable to yield wicked fruit, and a rotten tree to yield good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. So then, by their fruits you shall know them. Not everyone who says to me, Master, Master, shall enter into the reigns of the heavens, but he who is doing the desire of my Father in the heavens. Many shall say to me in that day, Master, Master, have we not prophesied in your name, and cast out demons in your name, and done many mighty works in your name? And then I shall declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who work lawlessness. Let's see also Matthew 10:16. See, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. Therefore, be wise as serpents and innocent as doves.
Okay, so we've got this continuing theme of deception, right? What does Eve say to Elohim? In 3:13 of Genesis, and Yahweh Elohim said to the woman, "What is this you have done?" And the woman said, "The Nahash deceived me, and I ate." Do not be deceived, fine fellows, fine folk, sheep, shepherd, sheep of the sheepfold, sheep of the shepherd. Okay. That's another witness. Let's see what else we got. Luke 10:3. Go, see, I send you out as lambs in the midst of wolves. Do not take a purse, nor a bag, nor sandals, and greet no one along the way. And whatever house you enter, first say peace to this house. And if a son of peace is there, your peace shall rest on it. And if not, it shall return to you. And stay in the same house, eating and drinking whatever with them. For the laborer is worthy of his wages. Do not move from house to house. Okay, so peace to this house. So that's interesting. Because when I first came to Torah, to listening to Bear, I was introduced to shalom. And I'd heard Jews say it, but I didn't understand what it meant. And so the inclination there is not like, hello, shalom. The inclination there is shalom. Is shalom. Is shalom. Peace. Like, I don't know you, you don't know me, but I come in peace. That's what it's saying. Peace. I'm going to start walking up to people and doing that. Peace. I think it should be good. Let's try that. Oh, we've got to John 10:12. Let's skip that one and go to bro, they literally have Acts 20:29 as written as a reference to Acts 20:29. What? Okay. Nobody's perfect. Your translation's not perfect, my translation's not perfect. This is why we use them all together, because goons wrote these things. Humans. Silly, silly humans. Let's finish this up. Also from among yourselves men shall arise, speaking distorted teachings, to draw away the taught ones after themselves. So savage wolves are coming in to take the people of the pack, to kill them. So somebody gets saved, they start going to church every week, and then they meet a guy at the grocery store who's like, "Oh, that Yeshua? Oh, I've heard of Yeshua. You shouldn't be associating with Yeshua. You don't want to be a part of that. You know that man Shaul was out killing Jews? He was a killer. He was a manslaughterer. He murdered people. You know what? We don't follow him. You're Greek, man. You're Asian, man. You're a Roman. You're one of us. We've got Artemis. We've got Zeus. We've got Confucius." Okay? Those are the wolves. And the distorted teaching brothers are false pastors. The distorted teaching brothers are the ones who, although the collection plate is necessary, they are all about that collection plate. It's like that collection plate gets counted and disappears before the service is over. Before the service can continue, the money gets counted. All right, this would be good enough, and I wonder, like, what would happen if some of these pastors, like, did that. You know what I mean? Like, didn't count the money and just went forward and preached. Or pastors. Speaking distorted teachings to draw away taught ones after themselves. I don't know. Why would you make such a big deal about gay being welcome in a church when there's division being caused by it between you and another one of your brother? It's like, if you wanna help save gay people, if you want to, I don't know. Are there gay people being used by Elohim? Absolutely. Question becomes, it's like, if you are a crackhead or a whore and you come to Jesus and you dedicate your life to Jesus. I met a girl the other day who was, and I guess she didn't come to Jesus, but let's back it up. You're a crackhead or a whore and you give your life to Jesus, then you are not likely to continue in your sin. You might fuck up a couple times, but you're not going to keep diligently doing what you were doing wrong, knowing now that it's wrong. And so the question is, would the devotion to Yeshua change the heart condition to the degree that that becomes an unacceptable immoral act of uncleanness and defilement? Or is it allowed based on the other works of the doing? And I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. I'm not God. I know personally that Elohim has helped me through open homosexuals. I've heard of other people bearing witness to homosexuals given grace, and I know that there are advocates of Jesus who genuinely have a pure heart who are homosexuals. I also know that there are homosexuals who are blessed more than straight men for their work prowess and diligence. That's all I'll say about that, but that'll come out a little bit later. A lot of bit later, but I'll tell that story later in life. Therefore, watch, remembering that for 3 years, night and day, I did not cease to warn each one with tears. Here come back the tears. He's saying, I cried, I showed emotion. I am not just a 45-minute pastor up and out. I bled with you guys, and this was for 3 years, night and day. I did not cease to warn each one with tears. And the warning each one with tears is half of this, and then the I did not cease is the other half. That was my purpose. That was what I decided to do. Day after day, after night, after day, after night, after day, after night. He loved Elohim. And now, brothers, I commit you to Elohim and to the word of his favor,
which is able to build you up and give you an inheritance among all those having been set apart. I commit you to Elohim and the word of his favor, which is able to build you up and give you an inheritance among all those having been set apart. Our inheritance is everlasting life. It is dwelling with Elohim in the renewed heaven and the renewed earth. And I saw a renewed heaven and a renewed earth. Watch this. For the former heaven and the former earth had passed away, and the sea is no more. And I, Yohanan, saw the set-apart city, renewed Jerusalem, coming down out of the heaven, from Elohim, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And see, I heard a loud voice from the heaven, saying, See, the dwelling place of Elohim is with men, and he shall dwell with them, and they shall be his people. And Elohim himself shall be with them, and be their Elohim. And Elohim shall wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, nor mourning, nor crying, and there shall be no more pain, for the former matters have passed away. And he who was sitting on the throne said, See, I make all new matters. And he said to me, Write, for these words are true and trustworthy. And he said to me, It is done. I am the Aleph and the Tav, the beginning and the end. To the one who thirsts I shall give out the fountain of water of life without payment. The one who overcomes shall inherit all this, and I shall be his Elohim, and he shall be my son. But as for the cowardly and untrustworthy and abominable and murderers and those who whore and drug sorcerers and idolaters and all the false, their part is in the lake which burns with fire and sulfur, which is the second death. And one of the 7 messengers who held the 7 bowls filled with the 7 last plagues came to me and spoke with me, saying, Come, I shall show you the bride, the Lamb's wife. And now, brothers, I commit you to Elohim, and to the word of his favor, which is able to build you up and give you an inheritance among all those having been set apart. Perfect, perfect, perfect is Yahweh. I have coveted no one's silver or gold or garments. And you yourselves know that these hands supplied my needs, and for those who were with me. He's like, I worked, you know? Yeshua says a workman is worth his hire. Shaul's a tent maker by trade. We found that out in Acts 18. 18:3, and because he was of the same trade, he stayed with them and was working, for they were tent makers by trade. Okay? He's a tent maker. He supplied his own needs, and for those who were with me, he didn't ask for anything. He didn't need anything. He had it going on. All this I did show you, by laboring like this, that you ought to help the weak. And remember the words of the Master Yeshua, that he said, It is more blessed to give than to receive. And having said this, he knelt down and prayed with them all. And there was much weeping among them all, and falling on Shaul's neck, they kissed him, distressed most of all because of the word which he had said. It is more blessed to give than to receive. This is quoted. I don't personally remember him ever saying this. But I suppose that he could have. This has been twisted into Christmasness. You know what I mean? It's like, it's, you know, it's not about receiving, it's about giving. Better to give than to receive, you know, when, like, you get a shitty Christmas present. But joke's on you, because you shouldn't be celebrating Christmas anyway. That they would see his face no more. They all knew. They all embraced.
And they went with him to the ship. They see him off. They love him. They love him. They love him wholeheartedly as brothers, embracing dedication, warmth, exchange, trust. All of that gets built into your heart as you become closer with people. And that's why it hurts so much to lose people. Go with them to the ship. In Yeshua's name. Amen.